Buju, Nindawemang Nidug, Wasagijik, Nidish Nakaz, Muskozi B, and Dunjaba, Gego Dudam. I said greetings to all my relatives. Welcome to this demonstration today. I want to first acknowledge the Ziibiwing Center Cultural and Anishinaabe Lifeways, the Saginaw Indian Tribe, also the Tribal Council. The eagle feather cleansing demonstration today has been conducted since 1998. Over 22 years this event has taken place. The honoring, the feast, and also the cleansing. It's been a 3-day event where we begin out by cleansing our feathers, then we honor them, and then we feast them. But because of the circumstances of 2020, we're not able to provide that for you today. So we're going to do a virtual cleansing of the feathers. The use of the feathers by the Anishinaabe people comes in many different forms. The feathers were given to the Anishinaabe people for many different reasons. They can pray with them, they can honor their family members. They could do many, many different things for the eagle feathers. And they were given to the Anishinaabe people for many different purposes from the Creator. You could get them in many different ways. They could be passed down by generation to generation. They also could be given in a special event, ceremony, any type of event like that. Also, they could be found as you're traveling throughout the world. Eagle feathers lose their feathers during a certain time of the year. And as we wander around this Turtle Island, sometimes we come upon an eagle feather, and we place our tobacco down, and then we can claim that feather as a gift from the Creator. Feathers work for us in many different ways. They help us pray to our Creator. They help us in our daily lives. They give us strength and power. They help us physically, mentally, and spiritually. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to cleanse our eagle feather. The Ziibiwing Center has provided the general public. All you have to do is call here to the Ziibiwing Center, 775-4750, and this eagle feather kit could be obtained. And it has many different things in it. It has the flyer, which explains on the back of it the significance of the eagle feather, the cleaning and cleansing and caring for the eagle feather. Also within the kit, you have a couple of Q-tips and also cotton swabs that are very useful. And we also have our cedar oil. It's about an ounce, maybe just a little bit of more than an ounce of cedar oil. Also, we have our paintbrush that we use when we cleanse our feathers. So all of these materials are, once again, they're inside of this bag that could be obtained from the Ziibiwing Center at curbside service. Just call 775-4750. And you can get one of these kits for free. So what I'd like to demonstrate today is that all of this material here that has been laid out prior to this demonstration is you're going to need yourself a piece of cardboard, a table, put it on cardboard. Try not to use any type of paper like a newspaper or a paper flyer that's already had been printed on, because in some cases maybe the ink will come off and go onto the feather, and we don't want that to happen. So also we have our cedar oil, ounce of cedar oil, Also, you need to have a glass bowl, no plastic. The cedar is very active to the plastic, so try not to use a plastic bowl. Glass is preferred. With our brush, I just wanted to show you last week before the presentation began, and I was working with the cedar oil. I got these turkey feathers here, and then I wanted to test the properties of the cedar oil. So I cleansed these turkey feathers with the oil, and then I let them dry overnight. And as you see, the turkey feather, as I'm pulling on it, the feathers aren't stuck together. They're very pliable. Oh, and you really can smell the aroma of the cedars. The plume part of the feather is very workable. You just pull it out and it's back to plume. Very, very good. So the cedar oil will not damage the feather. It cleanses it. This one has a more of a prominent plume on it, so you can see that the plume has really come back into original shape. The smell on the feather is really good, and the feather will be protected by the cedar oil. So first of all, what we want to do after we get our feathers, we want to take the cedar oil here, and we want to pour a bit of it into the glass bowl. Just go right ahead and pour your cedar oil in the glass bowl. Take your brush and kind of soak it around into that cedar oil, and then just let it lay in there for a second. Also, within the kit, you have this cotton swabs you can also use, and also the Q-tips. The Q-tips you can use also for cleansing too. And then you would just dip each one of these into the cedar oil and then proceed to clean your feathers. So today I brought some of my personal feathers with me that I'm going to actually cleanse here for you today. I have them over here in this case, protective case for the feathers. I have this particular feather, this bald eagle feather. It's a tail feather that comes from the bald eagle. I have it here. I haven't decided what what I was going to use it for, so it was gifted to me, and so I've just been storing it and putting it away, and then one day I'll decide what to do with the feather. But as we look at the eagle feather, it has two sides to it. It has a front side, it has a back side, it has a shaft, and then the feathers on the side, and then this one has a little bit of plumage on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our feather and we're going to lay it flat down on our cardboard or a piece of paper on the table. We're going to take either our brush or our Q-tip or our cotton ball, or a cotton ball, and we're going to start cleaning the feather. How I like to begin with the feather, and you can do this any way you want, but how I like to do it is the shaft here of the feather, which goes all the way from this is considered the bottom of the feather, where it's really thick, and then it goes up and then it starts to get thin up the top and on both sides. I like to lay the feather down, and then I like to begin there. I usually take the brush and kind of press it down and let the excess off the brush go back into the jar. Then I begin at the bottom, and I gently hold it down, and I start to brush, or just start to stroke the oil, the cedar oil, along the shaft of the eagle feather. And as you continue up, you can see the the feather or the shaft, starting to soak the oil into the feather. Very good. The oil protects the eagle feather from the mites that grow, and they want to harm, or they want to destroy the feather, particularly eat the feather. So the oil will keep the bugs away from your personal feathers. Also, as the feather, once it leaves the eagle, lands on the ground or wherever it goes, once it leaves the eagle, the natural oils from the eagle that help protect the feather are no longer able to. So we as Anishinaabe people have to replenish this oil into our feathers. So once a year, that's why this program was created, the honoring and cleansing and the feasting of the eagle feathers, so we can take care of our feathers and restore them back and keep them really, really good, and so they can help us, in our daily lives. So the next thing I would do, I would pick either side of the shaft, on my left side or my right side, and I would start at the bottom with the plumage, and then I would start to brush an outward stroke on the feather, making sure all of the feather is completely saturated with the oil. If you need some oil, go back and dip. Make sure you're getting the excess off, and then continue up the feather. I chose the right side of the feather. Continue up the right side of the feather till you're at the top. Then you'll notice the feather is really saturated with the oil, and like Mr. Willie Johnson told me, the feather is going to tell you how much oil it needs. You don't have to dip it and pour the oil all over the feather. The feather is actually going to tell you how much oil that it needs. Then after you completed that side, you start on the left side, also getting the plumage soaked in the feather, working from the shaft to the outer part of the feather, making sure that the feather is completely covered with the oil. And take your time, continue up to the top of the feather. Make sure you're brushing in an outwards motion, keeping the feather saturated. As you complete the front part of the feather, it'll even kind of like turn into a different color. You can see the excess on the cardboard from the feather. Then once again, you can turn the feather over on the opposite side. Now this time, since the feather is already saturated, you won't need as much oil for the reverse side. But you would do the same procedure. You would hold it and you would start at the bottom of the feather and get the shaft, and then get the plumage on the other side. Continue up on the shaft to the tip of the feather. Now we go back in and get some more oil, and remember the oil is already saturated on the front side, so you wouldn't need a whole lot of oil on the reverse side. And then you would continue up with light brush strokes. Really don't try to force down on your brush. Just lightly stroke it so the feather is completely covered on that side. Now if you have a feather that's coming apart there in the front, you can gently take your hand and you can pull the feather up, and as it dries, it'll continue to dry, and it'll actually come back together as a feather, and then that little part. Very good. All right, we're going to continue on the other side. So we're going to start once again at the bottom of the feather. We're going to work up the shaft. Again, once again, work up the shaft once again. And then lightly go over the back of the feather with the oil, continuing up on to the top of the feather. Now the feather is completely cleansed. It's really saturated in the oil. Although the oil is, you can see by the demonstration, the oil is not dripping off. It's staying within the feather, and it's giving the feather back the life that it needs to carry on its job for the Anishinaabe people. So that's one of my feathers that I have. Another one of my feathers that I'm going to cleanse for you today. This one. This particular feather was gifted to me by my relatives. This particular feather is a golden eagle feather. And it has a number of different other feathers on it. It has these yellow plumes and it has this white plumes on here. And once an Anishinaabe person gets one of these feathers and cares for it, responsibility to take care of it. So this is when you add different colored plumes, white, yellow, red. You'll see all different kinds, pink, orange, whatever color you like, you put on your feather. This is called dressing up the feather. Dressing up the feather, just like you would dress up another human being, another Anishinaabe. You want them to look good, their presentation to look good to the world. So you would dress up this feather with however way you want it. So I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to cleanse this particular feather. This particular feather comes from the golden eagle. And this is one of the tail feathers for the golden eagle. So what I'm going to do is, once again, it has a front side and it has a reverse side. I'm going to place it down so the front side is showing. And this time, instead of using the brush, I'm going to use the Q-tip. And then the Q-tip we do in the same manner. We soak the Q-tip in the oil. And then we're going to begin down at the bottom of the shaft. Sometimes if you have a covering on your eagle feather, you're not able to get into the shaft. But if you wanted to take that covering off the shaft and then recover it and replenish it, you can take that off, and then it would expose the shaft, and then you can clean it also. But if you didn't want to take the covering off, maybe you had some bead work on here or some quill work, so it would be impractical, or for you to take off that particular work off of the feather. So you would leave that on, and then you would just continue above the quill work or the bead work with the oil. So what I would do is I would work first on the plumage, whatever color plumage you have. I would do that first, get enough oil on there, and then you would see the plumage, and it starts to go in, and it doesn't look like plumage anymore. It doesn't look like here we have on the turkey feather, how the plumage on the turkey feather is really nice. It's really grown out. It'll kind of just go down and kind of be like that, But then once it dries, you can either take a hair dryer and then on gentle cycle, hold it kind of far away. Don't hold the hair dryer right up to the feather, kind of right here, so the hair dryer, the air from the hair dryer is blowing on the feather, and then you can gently pull out the plumage, and then it'll come back to its original shape. The same thing on these little yellow ones. I already put the oil on this little yellow one, so they're pretty soaked here. So they're not going to come out, and your plumage will actually look like this because it has so much oil on it. But as you leave it dry overnight, and then you come back the next day, and then you pull the plumage, it'll all come back. It'll all come back to its original shape, be nice and fluffy, and it'll look very beautiful. So once I get the plumage like that and saturated with oil, I kind of just move it gently to the side, where I could see the shaft. And once you can see the shaft, that's the area where you want to work on next. So once again, you grab your Q-tip, soak it in the oil, rub it on the shaft, starting at the bottom, continuing all the way up to the top of the feather. Once we get the top of the feather, you notice that I have some white plumage at the top of the feather here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Q-tip, and I'm going to saturate that whole plumage with the oil, giving it a nice wet look. When you actually get putting the oil on the feather, you'll notice that the oil gives the feather a sheen, and also it makes it kind of look really wet, and that's really good. That's really good for the feather. You know, the feather is kind of like a bounty towel, paper towel. When you put that oil on there, you know, if it's missing oil, you know, it'll just soak it right up. It'll just like a sponge. So then once again, I filled my Q-tip up with the oil. I'm going to start at the bottom of the feather, continuing my way up to the feather, continue my way up on the feather. I need some more, soak it in there. Gently stroking it on the you'll have to have some tissues with you when you're doing this procedure. The cedar oil, the smell of the aroma is so strong that just like now, it'll probably make your nose run a little bit. Keep your Purell handy. Wipe your hands if you have to cleanse your face, and then continue on with your feather. Go back to the place where you stopped, and you can tell where you stopped. Once you put the oil on the feather, this part of the feather and this part of the feather, has more of a sheen to it, and this is kind of like a duller looking color. So then you just continue up. Using the Q-tip takes a little bit longer. You're not covering as much area as you are with the brush, but either one is appropriate to use to cleanse your feather. Then once you get all the way to the top, you notice that your feather, oh man, it's really got a sheen to it now. The feather is really soaking up a lot of the oil, giving it the cedar oil, giving it the strength. Cedar is a medicine that was given it to us by the Creator to help us in our daily lives, to help us with our spirituality, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And to give this to the eagle feather also gives the eagle feather the strength where it can do its purpose for us, whatever purpose we use our feathers for. You know, the Creator gave us our feathers, and the eagle, he's the one that flies the highest, sees the farthest. When we take our sama out, when we place it down in the morning, and we ask the Creator to help us out on this day, to make us strong, that we to face every challenge during the day, that we we as Anishinaabe people can face all of them challenges and go through our day. When we lay our sama down and we ask the Creator for all of these things, He comes around, the ego comes around and he takes them prayers and he takes them up to the Creator. And the Creator looks down upon us and gives us the things we need during our daily lives, during our daily survival here on Mother Earth. So what I'm going to do now, since I did the one side of the feather, I'm going to do the other side of the feather. But since in the beginning I dropped this in the cedar oil, and as you can look at the table, it's pretty saturated with the oil. So what I want to do is I want to take a feather, the plumes, and kind of move them to the side, and take my cotton swab, and then kind of just go up again, going from the shaft outward, pressing down very gently. Some of our feathers that we have are very precious to us. So they're just like our children, you know? Our feathers are just like our children, and we want to take care of these feathers just like we would our children. We want to teach them treat them very gently, very kindly, and take care of them with everything we have. So we take this feather, we can just put a little bit more on here and see that the feather wants a little bit more oil right here. So that's the front side of the ego feather. And just place the cotton swab down, and once again you'll see that the plumage has kind of shrunk in, but don't worry about that. It didn't ruin it. It didn't damage it. Once the feather starts again, I guarantee you that once you can even use your mouth and blow on it with your mouth, and then kind of work the plumage out, and it'll come back out, and it'll look just like this once the oil is dried. So then you're going to take your feather once again, place it on the reverse side. I'll start with my brush, demonstrate with the brush here. We're going to start with the plumage first. Now with the brush, it has a lot more cedar oil saturated in it already, so the plumage is going to probably shrink down really fast with the brush, and it's not going to look like it's a beautiful plume before. So that's how the plume is going to look once you saturate it with oil, giving it more life, giving it more health, giving it more strength. That's what the cedar oil does to these feathers. It helps it, and it will help us. And then so once I get the plumage saturated, once again, very gently, I'm going to move the plumage to the side of the feather so I can expose the shaft, and you're not hurting the plumage. If it's natural or if it's artificial plumage that you had added to the feather, it's not going to hurt the feather. Just gently move it to the side. Don't try to rip it or tear it over. Just gently move it over to the side with your fingers. Then what we're going to do is, since our oil's been soaking in the bowl, once again, make sure you use some type of a glass bowl. Yeah, no plastic, no rubberized or no Tupperware, or don't use that. The cedar oil acts very strongly with that plastic or that rubberized material. So what you want is this glass bowl here. So then you take your brush, and then what you do is start at the bottom of the shaft. Once again, really gently. You don't have to press down really hard. Once you start pressing on it, the oil just automatically, it leaves the brush, and it'll come on the shaft. Once again, I'm going to take the brush, the top part of the feather where the plumage is. You're going to see it once again. The plumage on the top of the feather is not going to look like it did before. But I guarantee you, once you blow dry it, I would say about this length, body length, body length arc, you know, turn it on, turn your blow dryer on low, with the arrow blow. You know, you can even use your own personal breath, kind of just blowing on it while you're pulling on it the next day, and the plume will actually come back to life, and while it's being protected and it's soaking up the oil. Okay, once I got done with the reverse side of the Golden Eagle, I'm going to start on the bottom gently. Once again, you don't need that much on the reverse side, because the front side of the feather is really soaking up a lot of the, and then you can really see the sheen on that side of the feather, and that's what you're looking for. If you see some dull spots, kind of like a dried out area on your feather, that's kind of the area that you want to work on a little bit more. So what we're going to do is take our brush, dip it, just the tip of it, into the oil, try to press out most of the oil back into the bowl, and then we're going to continue on the other side. Now, I don't know if you can see this or through the demonstration, but the bottom of this feather, excuse me one more time. Very powerful. The aroma is very powerful. Please, once you touch your nose or do anything like that, the mouth in any area, please use some Perel or something to cleanse your hands with. Keep them away from your face. I'm in here without a mask because the room is closed off. There's nobody else in here but me, and also you virtually. But so otherwise, if there was other people in here, I would have my mask on doing the demonstration. So once again, as I was saying before, as if you could, right where my index finger is, you can see the feather right in here has a different sheen than the other parts of the feather that have already been covered with the oil. It's kind of like, looks like kind of like a dried out, really dry area, and the other ones, it doesn't have much sheen to it. So you know that area right in there, that part of the feather needs more oil. So what I would do is I would take my brush, either you can use your brush or you can use your Q-tip. I use the Q-tip for this, and then just in the area where it's really dull, just take that oil, spread it all over the feather. Oh yeah, that looks beautiful now. Now it's really got a sheen to it. That looks like it wants to be healthier, more healthier than it was. Then in the other areas where you left off, you know, remember on the reverse side, don't use as much oil. Don't use as much oil. And then just once again from the bottom, oh yeah, the feather is just like a bounty towel. It's just soaking up. It's just soaking up all the oil. Saying, give me that medicine, yeah. Give me that medicine. So we're going to give the feather all the medicine that it wants so it can be healthy and help us in our daily lives. So this is the Golden Eagle feather that I've done. I've also done the Bald Eagle tail feather, Golden Eagle tail feather. And then our next step is in a safe area. Once we put the oil down on our feathers, is we want to place it in a safe and a dry area. And what we do is we'll lay our feather on our cardboard or our paper, and then we'll leave the feathers over there overnight so they could dry. And I used a lot of my oil on there, so I'm going to do other feathers. So I'm going to take this cedar oil, and we're going to replenish our bowl with just about that much. So we almost used about half half of our oil here on our feathers. And for this demonstration, I really used a lot of oil to try to demonstrate. But the feathers, they really needed the oil. This is my eagle feather fan that I use mainly for dancing, and once in a while I use it in the ceremonies. But it helps me, and helps me with my connection to my Creator, my belief in my higher power. So I want to take care of this, and I want to treat this eagle feather fan. This is a tail feather, and it comes off of the bald eagle before it turns white. This is the tail will actually, after the eagle gets older and older, it'll actually turn this color, and then all of the feathers will be white on it. So this is a younger eagle that was gifted to me by my relatives. So what I want to do with this eagle feather is I'll place it down on the table, eagle fan, and I'll grab, since I have a lot of feathers, I'm just going to use my brush on this one, and then I'm going to get the oil down here, and then we're going to start over here. I'll start on this end, and then once again, what we're going to do is we're going to start way down here on the shaft. Put the oil on the shaft, continue up the shaft with the oil. Alright, now if you have the feathers and see they're attached to the fan, it's okay to gently move your feathers over. Let me work on this side. Hold them over, get your oil on there, and then start going up to the top, brushing the oil from out to in. Once again on the sides, you get the plumage. Keep on working the oil all the way up the feather. And as you can see, the feather compared to these other ones, it really has a nice sheen to it. And then actually you can take the parts that have been pushed together and you can try to put them back together like that. And actually as the oil dries, they will go back into shape. So then I want to take the next feather, lift it up gently, do the shaft all the way up. And we're going to do the side of the feather. I'm doing it kind of quickly since we already demonstrated a little bit slower before how to do it, but you can go a little quickly since I have a lot of feathers here. And what you're going to do is press it apart. Take your feather in between. Oh yeah. The eagle feather is just drinking up this oil. And you just continue down to the next feather, up the shaft, around the feather. Oh, man, I just touched it and the eagle feather just soaked it right up. Yeah. Continued on this side. Continue up on the feather. See, I pulled this one out a little bit so then I can just place it behind there. Just lift this up just gently with your hand. Place that behind there. This one here, I can gently move it in the front. Once again, I'm going up the shaft, the feather, all the way from the bottom. The shaft part of the feather, that's where the mites and the bugs, they attack the feathers. You might see some feathers in there as you go up. They're missing a piece of feather. That's because the mites and bugs have got to them already before you were able to protect them. And this will kill them. This will stop them. This will get the bugs off your feather and preserve them. preserve them longer. So then I push that back and I'm here to the center feather of the fan. Once again, gently all the way up the shaft. Getting some more oil. Oh, the feather is really just soaking that right up. It's not even dripping on the table. Only it's dripping on the table is when I press it down on the table. Very good. Then the other side, make sure you get the plumage, shaft, from the shaft outward. The brush is getting in there. And what you're trying to do is get the oil on top of the feather. Don't take your brush and try to spread the feather apart and get it in between. The oil will naturally just soak into the feather where you don't have to do that. Now my other feather, I'm moving the other one over very gently, doing the shaft all the way up the side of the feather. The eagle feather is really just soaking that whole. I believe if you have a lot of eagle feathers and you use more than we gave you in your little bottle here, and you need some more, I'm pretty sure you can call the Ziibiwing Center, 775-4750, and they might be able to replenish some of your cedar oil for you. And once again, we're going to go up. Oh man. Then you can hear the feather. It's almost talking to you. You hear that? You can hear that noise there. The feather's almost. And it's just like soaking that oil right up. We're going to continue down to the next, all the way up on the shaft. Move our feather over gently. Oh, excuse me one more time. Continue back on our feather. Do the outside. Continue that out. Second to the last feather, move it out so we can see it. Alright, continue that on. From the bottom. All the way out. So we don't need that much oil on it. As you're going along, you'll see that it's got that good sheen on it. If it still has that dark look to it, then you can just add some more oil to it. Take it all the way up the shaft. You want the feather, all of the feather on there. The brush is really saturated with the oil, so when I go back and dip it in there, I don't have to dip it very much because the brush itself is holding a lot of the oil. So, all right, we'll put these back in order here. Put these back in order. Give it a touch a little bit here. Give it a little shake. That's the front side of the fan, and you can see all of the feathers. They have that nice, really good looking sheen to it, giving the feathers back the strength that it loses once it leaves the eagle. You know, it starts to dry out, and it's not getting the natural oils from the eagle to help preserve itself. So we as an Anishinaabe people, we've been gifted, or we've been presented with these feathers. Now that we're gifted, and it's our responsibility to, as Anishinaabe people, to take care of these feathers, just like we would our children, another person. So that's why one of the reasons why we take care of this, and we take care of these feathers. So then I would continue on with the back of the feathers, and then once again, once I'm completely done with the whole complete fan in a nice dry area, you would lay the fan out and then let it dry overnight. Once again, you can use a lot of different materials to help you. The cotton swab here, you can go up the shaft. I'm just going to go up the shaft on with the feathers. A lot of the oil from the cotton swab really soaks up a lot of the oil. Yeah. Right to the top. You soak the oil back down in there. Continue with your feather. You don't need much on the reverse side because you've already done the front side. So that one I've done right here, and you can really see the sheen on that feather right there from the oil. Ooh, giving it a lot of life, giving it its life, protecting it. So it can protect us. Continue on up all of your feathers. The swab, I don't even really have to soak back in the oil because it's holding a lot of the oil, cotton swab. So just moving the feathers. Moving the feathers. And I'm moving a feather from the bottom. I'm moving the feather from the bottom, moving it left or moving it right from the bottom part. If it's attached to something, I'm not grabbing it in the center and trying to bend it over because it might bend and might break. So I'm trying to be as gently as I can with it, not to roughhouse it. Kind of like our children, you know, we treat them gently, take care of them. Just like our child, you know, we give them a little sponge bath here. Yeah, give it a little sponge bath. It'll soak up the oil. Oh man, this fan is really soaking up the oil. And once again, on the back side of the feather, you don't need to have, even though the cotton swab holds a lot of oils, you don't need to keep on dipping it and going back. The cotton swab itself is holding a lot of the oil. You know, if you have a lot of time on your hand, you have a lot of, I'm gently pushing the feathers back into the order that they came from. Back in shape. Alright. Give it a little, it's powerful. You really can smell that oil. Alright. So with that, I began by last week making sure that our oil had the right property to it and it didn't damage our feathers. So even though I did use a turkey, the turkey feathers are honorable feathers. You know, but we can replenish turkey feathers. Our eagle feathers are almost valuable, and we can't get them back in some cases. So I tried with the turkey feathers, and you can see as turkey feather here, the plumage. I just did it with my hands, and I'm just touching it very gently. I'm not trying to pull out any of the plumage. I'm just trying to put it back into natural order of the feather, and the feather itself, see, it's not sticking together. You know, it isn't It isn't glued together. And you can take it and pull it apart, and then once you take your hand and gently prune your feather, it'll go back. It'll go back. It'll go back into the natural order of the feather. Very beautiful feathers. Very beautiful feathers. I made a couple of dance shields, and then I put some of these turkey feathers on there. Very beautiful feathers. Put some plumage on them, colored them all up. So I want to thank you, Ziibiwing, to each and every one of you here that came here and watched me do this this demonstration on how to cleanse your eagle feathers, and hopefully this is helpful to you. And take care of your eagle feathers. They're a gift to us from our Creator. They help us in our everyday lives, spiritually, mentally, and physically. And with those words, I want to say once again, miigwech, on behalf of the Ziibiwing Center, the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribal Council. Thank you for affording me this opportunity to demonstrate how to cleanse and care for your eagle feather. Miigwech.